Welcome to the City of Keystone Heights Strategic Planning Workshop. It is Monday, December 9th, 2024. I appreciate everyone who's here tonight, and especially our folks who are viewing from afar. Ms. Silva, would you call roll call?
Mayor Nina Rodenrock.
I'm here.
Vice Mayor Christine Thompson.
Here.
Councilman Tony Brown. Absent. Councilman Elston Speedy Cussler. I cannot speak tonight, I apologize. Absent. And Councilman Dan Leviveski.
Here.
Perfect.
Thank you. Do we have any public comments?
No, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. So back in October, we had our first strategic, at least our crowd this time around, strategic planning workshop. I think it was a very productive workshop. I think we all came up with a lot of great ideas and all agreed that it needs to be updated. And after that workshop, just discussed different concepts, etc. I think we came back with some of the follow-up was to come up with a vision statement, a mission statement, identify our core values, and then we did identify strategic priorities, which were operation, maintenance, sustainability, events, infrastructure, and business development growth. The idea today was to come back with some goals that we could populate the strategies with. And so, I spent a little time on a few things myself. But before I really even share and want to hear what you guys have that you've worked on maybe since the last workshop, is I want to introduce, we have a special guest tonight, Mr. Jeff Hendry, who is Executive Director with Florida Institute for Government. We mentioned Mr. Henry's, the website, and we did find out that these services are used in other municipalities. And as an idea for possibly consultative services for us, we could sit here and talk about this amongst ourselves, but sometimes you kind of tend to go down a rabbit hole. And I think it's great to have someone serve as a host to facilitate this effort here and keep us on focus and very, so we can just be sure that we're going in the right directions and we understand the definitions of what we're trying to do and try to get this into a nice cohesive strategic plan. So, Mr. Henry, would you please tell us a little bit about yourself and what you think you can do to help us and what you know about us so far?
Sure. As you stated, my name is Jeff Hendry. I serve as Executive Director for the Florida Institute of Government at FSU, and kind of tongue-in-cheek here, I am a Gator on Saturday, so I know that carries a little water over this way. I've just a little bit of brief background on me. I've been with the Institute of Government for 34 years, since I started at Florida Atlantic University, where I did my undergraduate and graduate degree at FAU. And then I'm originally from Tallahassee, moved back, had an opportunity to move back and work in the executive office. The Institute of Government, just briefly, is it was funded and created originally by the former Florida Board of Regents, which was a precursor to the Board of Governors back in 1981. Currently, we have two other offices around the state. One's at the University of South Florida, and one is at Florida Atlantic University, and then our executive office at Florida State University. And our mission is very, very simple. We really try to improve and enhance the capacity of government so that they can serve their communities better. And we do that in a lot of different ways. Training and technical assistance. We trained over 65,000 people in the state of Florida last year. And when I say training, I mean everything from administrative assistant training up to elected governing bodies like this one and everything in between, middle managers. Do a lot of work with the City County Managers Association, do a lot of work with the Florida League of Cities, heard you mention them earlier. As a matter of fact, our organization manages two regional leagues of cities, the Northwest Florida League of Cities, which is from Pensacola, covers those communities and municipalities from Pensacola to Tallahassee, and then a little smaller group, the Swanee River Swanee River League of Cities, which is a 10-county area and around the Swanee Lake City area. And then another big thing for me, and I heard y'all mention this on your YouTube, which I had an opportunity to review. Jamie and Charlie were kind enough to send me the link, so I did watch your October strategic planning meeting. And before I forget, I really mean this when I say this. Your dialogue, you're ahead of the game. Then a lot of either cities and counties that I work with currently and in the past. You understand, I think, the value of it, but we can talk a little bit about the value here in a minute. But I actually manage a 14 rural county economic development partnership. Covers 14 rural counties in north central Florida, including Putnam County, Bradford County, and you probably say to yourself, well, why isn't Clay part of that? Well, Clay technically is not considered a rural county by the state of Florida purely by population. The population just puts you over the top there, recognizing that there's probably a number of areas in Clay that are rural and are rural as many communities are, like even Alachua where Gainesville is. So I manage that group, and what we do there is I've done a lot of strategic planning throughout those communities over the years, primarily from the economic development standpoint about setting vision and mission and doing asset inventories of those communities. What are they conducive to attracting in terms of business and industry? And we always say with folks, hey, you can't be something you're not. Lafayette County is probably not going to be the next headquarters for Google, but they can be a huge attraction to the dairy farming community and process and value added type industries in the cheese industry, for example. So those are the kinds of things we walk through, and we recruit business and industry literally from all over the world to come to those counties and those cities. We do a lot of work in the workforce development area where you in this day and age probably workforce talent is probably the number one factor in attracting business and industry. Used to be a lot of if you got available land, water, sewer, and infrastructure capacity, and that's still vitally important. But workforce talent, given our current state of affairs, is a big factor. But we do a lot in the area of tourism too, and and working with a lot of smaller communities, rural tourism, and where we don't have the necessarily the in-house expertise to deal with that. We got a lot of tentacles out there with private companies that we work with that we can broker relationships with, obviously on a fair and competitive, balance issue, or effort. So we really try to when I say enhance the capacity of primarily about 85% of the work we do is with local government, cities, counties, school districts, and special districts. And so we really, when I say capacity, it might be knowledge, it might be literally financial resources where we're advising them about grant programs and low interest loan programs that can advance your efforts. Learning from our peers that have already gone through this. We talked a little bit about this with the efforts going on in Wetumpka, Alabama and Laurel, Mississippi, and bringing that thought process to our cities and counties in this area. No sense in reinventing the wheel. People that have done it, we may have to customize it to Florida based on laws and other regulatory things, but at the end of the day, there have been people successful, and what are the best practices and kind of facilitating, sharing that. So that's a lot of what we do on a regular basis. I have a staff of about 13 people at my Tallahassee office, but they're positioned. We have a statewide mission, so I have 2 people that work down in Tampa, Sarasota. I have another person that works in Dunedin. I have another person that works in the Jacksonville area, and then we have our core 7 or 8 folks that work in the office. And then, as I mentioned before, we have a office in Tampa where we give that institution a grant to carry out our mission in that area. And so they serve that Tampa Bay region. FAU serves the Southeast Florida region. And so, again, we've been around since 1980. I've been with the program since 1986. A lot of relationship building with cities and counties over the years. A lot of connections and relationships with private sector entities. We can learn a lot from the private sector about how government can not necessarily run like a private business, but learn some best practices. I was sharing with Jamie and Charlie earlier, Clay Electric is one of my biggest supporters in terms of that regional economic development group, because they service about 4 or 5 of the counties that we're working with. So work a lot with rural electrical co-ops, work with the investor-owned utilities like Florida Power and Light, Duke Energy, and so forth. So, I shared with Jamie that this is a part of my job that I thoroughly enjoy. A lot of times I'm building organizations, or I'm working with chambers trying to reconstitute themselves, and and things of that nature. But when I get a chance to work with particularly smaller cities and smaller rural communities, I really appreciate it, because they got an opportunity to paint with a clear palette. A lot of times they're not overrun with congestion. They're not overrun with my previous life down in South Florida. And no offense to those folks, I got a lot of great friends. I do a lot of other types of services down there, but at the end of the day, they've kind of outstripped that capacity in some cases. And whether y'all like it or not, and I'm sure you're feeling it right now, that growth is coming here, if it's not already here. And so what do we do to prepare ourselves for that? And what do we want to be, and what do we not want to be? And that's kind of, the genesis, if you will, that I kind of outline for folks. That's the value in making sure you got a clear vision and a mission statement, core values that govern your decisions and the way you carry on your business, and the types of employees that carry out your business. And then ultimately drilling down, which you were just alluding to, Mayor, about getting to some specifics about what's our strategic priorities. For y'all to have 4, really, thought out, or at least surfaced right now, is pretty amazing. I mean that genuinely. And then, but drilling down even granular. Okay, here's our priorities. What do we really mean when we say that? And what are the concrete steps we've got to take to get there? And ultimately, sometimes we get granular enough to say how we're going to pay for this, because we can have grand ideas, which is what a vision is all about. And I walk into some places that they think that's really some broad, doesn't mean anything to have a vision statement. I couldn't disagree more, because if you don't know what your vision is, you don't have a mission statement, you're never going to get where you say you want to go. And you have something in place, not just for your tenure, as elected officials, but maybe for the ones that come behind you, as well as the staff. So that's a lot of babbling, but that's kind of where I come from. And if we engage ourselves with you all, I'm a structured person, so we'll have a lot of open, great dialogue. I've got a great team that I would bring with me, at least 2 other people with me that are doing the recording of the notes and things of that nature. So you'll have a tangible document when we walk out of here at some point, that you can sink your teeth into. So I guess I'd be glad to answer any questions. I would definitely want to listen to your dialogue tonight, and it sounds like you guys have kind of you had a good head start on this, to be frank with you. So anyways, thank you.
Any questions?
Did you bring some business cards?
Yes ma'am, I do have a couple. Yeah, and by the way, we, and y'all made reference to it, or I think the mayor did, on your YouTube that I did watch. We have continued to work with the city of Jacksonville Beach. We did the vision and mission and core values segment, and then a subsequent on the strategic priorities. And matter of fact, I just talked with city manager this morning as well. I think we're going to come back. They've got 4 new members on their city council of 7, so we're going to come back and do some more work with them. I think we're looking at March or something like that, but great group to work with too. So anyways. Yes,
Have you
ma'am.
ever done any work on comprehensive plans?
Thanks for bringing that up, because I remember that being part of the YouTube discussion. I have worked on comp plans in a former life. Those are really, they're completely separate documents, and they're completely separate. I mean, there's a regulatory aspect to the comp plans where you're looking at obviously your future land use zoning, your infrastructure element, and things of that nature. I would probably review your comp plan as we're not for any changes or anything of that nature, but I would keep us focused on the more policy oriented and strategic branding. I did mention to Jamie, and when he was driving me around town today, by the way, he was very generous with his time and expertise, pointing out everything. That I'm not sure how much connection y'all have with I believe y'all are part of the Northeast Florida Regional Planning Council area. I will share, and I shared with Jamie, that of the regional planning councils in the state of Florida, they are highly regarded, a very, very good organization, and that's their that is their lane, are a lot of the regional comprehensive plans and local comprehensive plans. So I hate to pass the buck, but I know when to pass it from an expertise standpoint. I would defer and maybe have them come in and talk to you guys at some point, where it's appropriate, because, there's a lot of state regulatory things involved in the comp plan. You got a time frame. It really boils down to, and again, I don't know if your comp plan, has been, if it's in quote compliance, because there are compliance requirements. Has it been approved in the last time frame out? And there have been some changes, but I think it was in the neighborhood of 5 to 7 years. Every 5 to 7 years, it's got to be submitted for compliance review. Based on your goals, objectives, and policies, and your future land use element, and your infrastructure elements, and things of that nature. And again, that's so above my skis when you start getting into, there's engineering associated with that. There's, zoning and things of that nature. But the importance of the comp plan is, as he drove me around, say there's a business, for lack of a better word, that may want to locate the Keystone for whatever reason. And they looking at a piece of property and they go, man, this would be perfect. Or looking at a vacant building that would be perfect. Is it zoned correctly? Is it, because if it's not zoned correctly in the state of Florida, you're looking at a minimum of 9 months. And that's not on you guys, that's on the process of going to the state, having them give feedback and making sure that y'all are in compliance. So, there is a structure to that. So that's but I would encourage you guys to and ladies to maybe have RPC come down here and maybe share with you and review. There's a lot of planning consultants out there that do a lot of great work. They can get a little pricey, quite frankly, and you know what? Some of them are very well worth it. But the RPC is that kind of entity that's what they were created for, is to be that regional entity, to be an interface between the state and the local governments, and kind of be that centralized area. So I would encourage you to go down that road. Yes,
Sorry,
ma'am.
Mr. Henry, to interrupt. Could you please let me know what RPC stands for?
Regional Planning Council.
Thank you. Sorry about that.
No, that's okay. Don't let me. I get annoyed when people talk about acronyms. I got no
problem. I deal with about 50
Yes,
a day. I
exactly.
understand.
Yeah.
2011.
So,
It's been,
yeah.
10 years, going on 14.
Because the
We're
strategic
thing
has been 8 years. On my commission.
And the area, at the state level, I think it's Florida Department of Commerce under that umbrella takes care of, one department within there takes care of the comp planning. But RPC, I'm telling you, they could give you a rundown of every. And if you're not in compliance, they can tell you how you move towards and get in compliance. And they'll do it. They do charge, because they, fees for services is one of the ways to keep them alive. And but my experience with them, they've been pretty reasonable. And I will reiterate, the Northeast Florida RPC has always had a great reputation. And I'll be frank with you, there are some that don't, but that one does.
So really, they really are 2 totally different types of
Mhm.
planning. And I'm not gonna claim to be no ace at any of this. I'm learning all of this as we go along. But on the strategic plan, I feel like, based on what I've read and learned, that really has to be in place in order to create the comprehensive plan, because it feeds off of that. Like, we had infrastructure as one of our buckets, which comprehensive does focus, like you said, on things like water, sewer, power, zoning. It doesn't go into, say, events planning, for one. New development, let's say we decide to bring new business into the city and we do pop-up retail, for example.
Mhm.
And we find grant money or something to pay for that, we're on the land. That's probably not necessarily part of a comprehensive detail. It
No.
seems, from what I've read and what I've seen so far in comprehensive.
So if I would share with you that it's even more separated than that. When we start talking about strategic planning, and the vision and the mission ahead of time, it's really, that's really for you all to talk about. And by the way, there's another step to this that we can talk about at a future time, is if you're interested. Some cities do, some don't, but that you might want to get, find a mechanism to get community input, community feedback. So, that's something you can, but I mean, in my view, really, and you can do this, if you're out of compliance, you probably, again, get somebody from the RPC to come down here, or go up there. They're located, they're in Jacksonville is where they're at. But in any event, so really the strategic planning session is for you all to talk about, the vision for this community. And that's typically a very aspirational thing. I mean, and I know that's when some people say, well, this is kind of touchy-feely stuff. Well, people that go through this process, or some process, not necessarily ours, they find the value in it. And I'll just, I mean, it's a very aspirational thing, the vision statement, but it's worth having a lot of pretty good discussion about. The mission statement is about looking at, the organization and what we do and how we accomplish and work towards achieving that vision. Okay, so there's a very, and I'll send it to you regardless. But if we get engaged, I'll send you all some reference materials, so just some examples of vision and mission statement, because a lot of times the terminology does get a little confusing. But the other set of the first step is, getting a set of core values is extremely important. What is it that governs us? What is it that we subscribe to from a core value standpoint? I can't speak about that more highly, and so that kind of is that first step. But I think you probably can and should, depending on your capacity. I don't want to overload the manager or anybody else here, but the comp plan thing is going to be completely separate, where y'all need to look at engaging or working with either an RPC or someone that can review where you are in the compliance standpoint, and what's fallen short and where you need to go. But that can be a technical document. I mean, it is a policy document, but it can be technical in terms of, water capacity, water and sewer. I know y'all are primarily, if I'm not mistaken, my cursory review, y'all have deal a lot with septic tanks here. I'm assuming in the town, right? And so forth. And there's an environmental component to the comp plans, and so your lakes here and the project that y'all have got coming online, or it's already online and going to hopefully dramatically improve some of those water levels and things of that nature, would be obviously something that's included in your comp plan. They just, again, there are different scheduled elements, and it's been so long since I looked at it, and it's changed over the years. But I know there's an environmental, there's a transportation element, your road capacity, right, or to hopefully can keep up with traffic patterns based on your growth, based on the everyday traffic that's here and things of that nature. So again, there's a technical aspect of that. What we're talking about doing is kind of creating the vision, the strategic priorities that we've got. And by the way, at some point, those two will complement one another. Because if you say, for example, we want to be a destination city. I'm not saying you will. I'm just hypothetically saying you want to be a destination place for certain types of events or certain kind of branding. Does my land use, does my infrastructure allow for us to move forward in what you say you want to do? And if it doesn't, where do we need to make changes? Or if we want to or not. So they do work hand in hand. But again, I'm not going to be involved in that part of it. But I can help you find, I can recommend some folks that I've worked with over the years. And again, I would start with the RPC of Jacksonville. But if it gets down to, looking for other people, I can give you 4 or 5 firms that I know that I'd be glad to recommend to you.
So in your experience, do you think that the strategic planning should take a priority over the comprehensive plan detail?
I think you can do them simultaneously. I really believe you can, and quite frankly,
It's totally different.
yeah, totally. But I'm not saying you need to rush up and do this tomorrow. I'd get a decent handle on that comp plan. You know,
Makes sense.
yeah, because at least get somebody in here that can interface with the state, because the state's going to have the records of the last time you all were in compliance. If not, here's some deficiencies, and here's what needs to be done to bring y'all into compliance. I'm not saying, you know, that is the case. I'm just saying if it is, I just think they can be an invaluable resource for you. The Regional Planning Council can. But for us, you know, you can that's something where you're going to have, not that you won't have direct input into the comp plan. This is going to be your leadership determining your vision, a collective vision, hopefully amongst you all, to say, here's what's important to us, this is what we want to do for our community, and here's how we're going to get it done. And then that, at some point, will have to match up with the comp plan, you know. But like you said, event management, event attraction, that's not something that's part of the comp plan. It might be something that's part of your strategic plan if you all want to be a place for people to come for whatever reason and for whatever purpose. But we'll have those discussions.
No, you answered my question.
Okay.
Thank you.
Oh, my pleasure.
Were you all able to look at what, you know, we had, Stephanie was so kind to send us what was done in the previous plan, which was March 7th of 2016. I think, Tony, you were here back in that. And you were too, that's right, I thought I saw that. And so, you know, what I did today was I looked on my notes from the last meeting. And I didn't mention this, our slogan is progress since 1925, which I feel can be definitely updated. With the lakes coming back, I think I look at it as 10 years and beyond. What is the message we're sending? And it's not progress since 1925, in my opinion. A slogan basically is a catchy phrase to represent identity and character of the place. And I mean, only an example here is, I looked at Mossy Oaks, I looked at our lakes, our rural setting, those types of things, and actually AI helped me identify these. So one of them I came up with was the City Oasis. City Oasis, that's rural in the beauty of mossy trees and serene lakes. Another one was where mossy oaks meet crystal lakes and experience the heart of our small town, which I kind of liked it because it said focus on picturesque scenery, suggesting that our town is a central point for enjoyment. Stuff like that. So it was giving you ideas, like when you marry those components together, and it is about our rolling hills, those beautiful trees that you don't necessarily see everywhere in Florida. And of course, our beautiful lakes. And somehow, to me, the lakes have got to be part of it. The amount of money and all.
Definitely, I
Yeah.
agree with the lakes.
Yeah, they're just beautiful.
That's
And-
our initial draw is the water.
Yeah.
And all these others.
And there's all kinds of cool ideas about water in the lakes, but you want to feel like it's a small little, it is an urban, it's a city oasis, or a rural oasis, essentially. Gym, you know, it's a gym, whatever, all the words we've heard. I wanted to learn a little bit personally about what these definitions actually mean. And with the vision statement, it is city council's ambition for the future. It is a short phrase, a paragraph that clearly describes long-term goals, dreams, and aspirations for the city. One that I came up with was building tomorrow together. It's a shared vision for our community to be used for collaborative effort in creating a vision that benefits all. Mission statement, these are actions that attain that vision. And definition of that is a statement of purpose and communicates the council's current key objectives, services to meet the needs of the community. And I came up, and this was based on our strategic priorities. Responsive leadership that is focused on business development, sustainability, infrastructure, and community. And of course, we got our four core values. And basically, that definition is essential for guiding actions and decision-making within the city government. And again, we integrity, communication, and exceptional public service. You know, and I looked at and really, I was just Googling other strategic plans, and I've looked at all kinds of cities' plans. I tried to find one similar to ours, and I actually know the mayor from Jacksonville Beach. You know, I loved the simplicity of that strategic planning. It's one that any community citizen can read and get it, and understand it, not only from the words, but from the visuals, the pictures, you know. And it was just, to me, so clean, you know, and that's why I brought this up to the group and felt like, you know, this would be, I think, a good way for us to try to create ours for simplicity purposes. And then what I did today, I took our strategic priorities and I looked at all the notes about what are some of the things we want to do. And I attached dollars to each one of the ones that at least I thought we wanted. I know y'all have more. And then we identify and focus on, like it showed in that plan, a couple of them that you make priorities. And then you figure out, like again, they have to make a budget and what years will we do these in. These are usually, what, about 3 to 5 year long? Strategic plans are about 3 to 5 years?
Yeah,
Something like
actually, I encourage folks at this point in time, probably no more than 3 years.
Yeah, 3 years.
You know,
That's what I
it's
thought.
because life, I mean, technology, life,
Things change.
yeah, change a lot,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
The one thing I wanted to share with you is what you're saying is, you're exactly right about Jack's Beach and the simplicity of it. But I want to share with you that was the 7-8 hours of us drawing that out of people. I'm just saying that it is so worth a discussion. I mean, and I'm not, look, whether you work with me or work with somebody else, I just want to share with you, there's a value, one, in not only the final product that you come out with, but the process that you go through. And a lot of people aren't process people. I kind of skip through that from time to time, but for this council and the staff to go through that kind of process, there's some inherent value there that it's hard to measure. And so, but anyways, but yeah, so Mike and those folks and the mayor, yeah, we a lot of discussions, a lot of not hokey exercises, but I think Mr. Lewandowski, is it? I heard you mention at the October, you know, we're gonna do, you know, we need to do sticky notes, and you know, we'll prioritize things that you guys come up with. So anyways, I don't want to interrupt your discussion, but
Yeah.
it's important. That to me was important for y'all to understand or try to realize.
Well, I think it is a collaborative effort for sure, because we all have different experiences and length of time here. I mean, I've only been here 7 years, but the rest of them have been here much longer. And I don't know, I just know what I see, what I think I hear citizens say they want, you know, and then, you know, shoot for the moon, and we try to come together on what we all think is the right thing to do. Because it's not about us, it's about them, citizens of the city. So, anyway, I just kind of played around with some ideas today and what I thought the cost would be. And I know we all had different things we wanted to put in those buckets, you know, because of our unique interest and what we think people want in the city, you know. And so I don't even know what those all look like, but that's where you get on the whiteboard and start scribbling it out and figuring out.
So what's your goal for today's meeting?
The goal for today's meeting is, I personally feel that having professional facilitate us will help us to stay focused and come up with a specific plan for strategic planning. And now hearing about what he has shared with us about the comprehensive plan, that's something that I think finance folks out in Florida to come and talk to us about what they could do to help guide us in that. I just feel that it's a lot more productive to have a third party as engagement, and it helps us it allows creativity, but it also allows us to be more productive.
Okay, well, obviously it's a workshop, so we can't make any
No,
decisions
right.
here.
No, you're right.
Right, but
Yeah.
I would like to throw out with the comprehensive plan, I've heard nothing but good things about the people who helped Clay County develop their comprehensive plan. And I would like us to explore that. I would like to ask you to ask them to come talk to us about what they did with Clay County. Not that we should exclusively look at them, but besides just the North, the Regional Planning Council, we should also look at what other alternatives we have. There are plenty good companies out there. But I think there's an inherent advantage if we team up with a company that did Clay County.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so.
That probably wouldn't hurt one. Just pull up their plan, probably has it on their, even in their.
County
guidance.
manager knows for sure.
That's how I found him, was through the ordinances. I mean, found through the company.
So I'll go back to my original question. What do you want to be done tonight when we walk out here?
Well, what I hoped is that you all would have brought some ideas about what you thought your vision statement was, your mission statement, where you had identified core values, and maybe 2 things of each value that you thought you wanted to have in that bucket. That was minimally what I expected tonight.
Okay, but now you're saying maybe wait until he can facilitate that?
It'd be great if him to facilitate it as well. If you guys, you've never met him, I've never met him either. We just want to agree that is this the right way to go? Is someone hosting or facilitating us to do these, to put this together?
Well, I'm just trying to make sure that if that's what we want, then let's not waste any more time to talk about it now. Let's just say we're done. And at the next council meeting, we have a vote, if we can, without having a competitive bidding process
That's
and all
what my
that.
question is, are we gonna have to go out and bid or?
Well, he's already clarified, he is from Florida State.
Okay.
He's
You're not from Georgia.
Yeah.
Let me rephrase, Councilman, he's headquartered out of Florida State University, but he personally is the.
Yeah.
That's
Okay,
correct.
all right.
Yes, that's what, somebody's gotta write my paycheck and somebody gets my loyalty on Saturdays.
So, maybe this is out the window, then I'd ask Drew to come up with just 3 PowerPoint slides. If you guys were trying to walk out of here with a suggestion to the full council on January 6th, if you wanted to start with the old vision statement, the one the mayor just stated, and go back and for course wordsmith that, or if you guys are liking what Jeff is saying, then we can forego that and let him facilitate it and have his people have it all in one. So we're prepared to go either way, because I really wasn't sure which way y'all wanted.
Yeah, because I thought we were coming here and we are gonna decide it tonight and we are gonna vote on it January meeting and it was gonna be done. But now I'm hearing something different as a plan. And
You thought
so-
we were gonna vote on what tonight? Or
No, we're not gonna
decide-
vote. Decide the
decide.
vision, we're gonna wordsmith the vision statement, we're gonna wordsmith the slogans. I thought we were gonna do that all tonight. We were gonna.
That would take a lot of hours to do that. I mean,
Depends, it'd be pretty quick. But Tony and I have done this before.
Yeah,
But I'm not very quick.
yeah, I think what you heard him say, it took them more than 7 hours.
I've seen it both ways. I've seen
Yeah.
it go both ways.
Right.
Because I've done
Because you
this
got 5
many
personalities playing
times.
into that decision, so.
And so, yeah, and I think I'm probably, how do I say it? I make decisions and I've had a lot of experience doing this, and so it would be hard for me. But I understand other people are not like that. And so if we need more time, if we can use a facilitator to help us out, let's do that then. But I need to hear what you guys are thinking.
I would say, that I sat on the board for Northeast Florida Planning Council several years ago, and their staff is top notch. But I agree with you, if Clay County had their comprehensive planners done by somebody else, we need to look at that. But I feel like, we need to have somebody guide us. I mean, you're an engineer, I'm a engineer. So, I would rather have somebody out on the outside looking in that can give us more depth than what I can give. So I would be willing to go with somebody. It's just, my issue is, are we gonna have to go out and bid or?
So, I'll let Jeff fill that question, but he answered it in short that if a municipality in Florida uses the resources from a Florida university, then the answer is no.
Even if it is.
Your attorney will always tell you it's safer to competitively bid,
Right.
but he's done that without that. He's here
Yeah.
tonight.
We haven't had to field that question in a long time, but yeah, they're in, I think it's chapter 2 287.051 or something like that. I've been asked, so actually the local government, city, county, school district, or special district, you're not required to do a competitive bid if you're working with a government entity and obviously a university, a public sector entity is what it defines that as. So what I did provide, I think I sent it to y'all also. We went through this in depth back, I can't even remember if it's from 2002, where a law firm interpreted that for their counsel. But the answer to the question is, and I think particularly when you're dealing with the amount of money we're dealing with also, from a competitive bid standpoint, it would not raise to that level anyways. But being a governmental entity like a university is, they don't have to bid that out competitively.
You're with the Florida Institute?
I'm worth, and the Institute of Government is part of Florida State University.
Right.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So we're talking $4,500 and a full day, basically.
That's easy.
Am I correctly summarizing that?
Yeah, and and what I would want to do is, my prep work, the work that you've already done, Mayor, and I'm sure many of you others have, get that collectively, bring that prep time and come and, go utilize that as a starting place, but definitely go through a process, where you guys are having open discussion and frankly some independent work too. So, but yeah, y'all done some good work already.
Yeah, I think identifying those priorities, I think, is great, because it does keep you focused in that particular area. Like, I could have had probably 10 things per bucket, but I know between 5 of us, we want to populate it, and then we all disagree or agree on what is really a priority.
Well, we're gonna
Year 1, year 2, year 3.
We're gonna
whatever.
process y'all through,
We
we're
can
gonna
bust it
process
out
that
together.
through, so we build it down to some achievable things.
Okay. What do you think, Chris?
I think it's a great idea.
I think we'll all learn. I've done a bunch of strategic planning workshops with sales reps on their business plans. And, so I've learned though every time by doing them or attending them, being facilitated by another person, I've learned from every one of them. And I think it's a real great learning opportunity for all of us at different levels, no matter what our experience is. So.
There are 2 things that I would ask. First is, this process for me has been painstakingly slow. And so I would ask my fellow council members, if at all possible, let's make that the final event and we decide, done, vision, mission statement, slogan, and we move on. And the second thing I would ask, and if you watched my comments at the last meeting, is that I'm frustrated with outsiders coming in who don't understand our community and who try to tell us what we should do, and they can't even get the parking lot right where our North Park is. I had an engineer when I was on the council the first time, could not tell me where all the speed bumps were in town. How are you supposed to advise me on roads when you don't know my community? So I'm not asking you to become an expert on Keystone Heights, but I am asking you to be somewhat knowledgeable about us as much as you can find the time to do so.
Right. I work with 411 cities, 67 counties, and 67 school districts. Can't be an expert on them
Of
all.
course.
My job in this process will be to draw out of each and every one of you all and the staff, what you see as your preferred vision, committing to it, the mission statement, the core values, and I think you'll, as an example, we'll go through a SWOT analysis as well. I mean, we will look, and I know,
I love those.
we will look at it because
Oh my God.
we've got to hear from everybody.
I understand.
Yeah.
I understand. That's part of the process. Yes, I suppose I just.
But see, the difference in this, Dan, this time, is he will ask us our opinions. What do we think the priorities are? What do we think the vision statement is? Versus, we had this park plan that you're referring to. We weren't asked one question about anything. This massive plan was presented. So that is a huge difference. And
was one of the things I put in the proposal was defining the roles and responsibilities of the council, the staff, and any other folks that y'all might want here.
Really?
Typically, they would be observers.
You're
'Cause-
just there to keep us in the lane and to offer the structure.
Correct.
It is our input based on what we know about our community and maybe some of our own research that we do, that we come up with what those items are. What should be in that
Nobody
vision
knows this
statement.
place better than y'all.
And, you know, we throw food up there and we go, well, I like that, I don't like that, well, let's change it to this, you know, right?
Yes,
It's a group effort.
between Tony and I, we've been here.
Over
Over 100 years.
Oh, my goodness.
I'm
That's
not
all.
kidding.
I'm not saying
They,
that.
I mean,
Serious.
well
Have a party
acknowledged.
for us.
Yeah, that's right.
It's gonna be a centennial for more than one reason.
So, you know.
So we've been here a long time and we know, we pretty much have a good.
They were here in the day when it
I
was
had hair once.
amazing,
Yeah.
like with the lakes and all that. And, you know, from my research, about 55% of the citizens were born here in the city. And to me, I keep wanting to go back to that time when it was, you know, full of fun, people coming here for the lakes on the weekends, a vibe going.
Mhm.
Dances at the pavilion, people out creating community things, just doing stuff. Not too different than we do with some of these events we have. That's why we're amping these events up in the next year, especially we amped them up this year and had incredible turnout. So I know it's there. It's
Yep.
just, we just trying to structure things and make sure the community knows exactly where we're going with it. So I think we're just in a really great opportunity to really lead with some wonderful opportunities here for the city.
I couldn't agree more.
So are we done?
We're done.
I
You want to do
don't-
this to me?
Oh.
Yes, sir.
So we need to prep the mayor. Last week, I found out, it was announced that the legislative delegation for Clay County, which is Senator Bradley, Senator, or Representative Garrison, and newly elected Representative, Judge Taft. I've been talking to
Don't do
these
that.
people, yeah. So anyway, I had sent a couple of weeks ago, after I talked with Representative Sapp's office, kind of the things that he thought the speaker and the governor were gonna be inclined to support appropriations wise, and those were all centered around infrastructure. So, as I highlighted, this is a very rough draft. I do know that there is a lot of chatter that the places in Florida that were heavily impacted by the hurricanes will get a lion's share of any discretionary state dollars this session. Sessions March and April, committee weeks are in January and February. But we meet at 6 p.m. on January 6th. The legislative delegation will meet in the Clay County Board of County Commission chambers at 2. So if we could gain consensus around these, or you guys add or take away, the mayor should represent and speak on that day to that delegation. And then even if that night, if y'all want to adjust stuff, it's not in stone. The county manager said he would take our things and put on, they're gonna create a little palm card, little handout. And so when any of us go to Tallahassee or go to the delegation's offices locally, we're all singing off the same sheet of music. And just as we were talking about the Clay County comp plan, I mean, let's face it, Clay County is 600 square miles and we're 1.2 square miles. So we have a better chance of whatever we ask for, if we're kind of nested in their overall plan, they're willing to help us be on.
Well, I'll say, Charlie, this first one should be first. That's something that we've been talking about for years. And with pipe, the sewer line and everything, I think it goes, where's it go? To the RV park? Yeah.
RV park is on.
Now, I know there was a water hookup years ago after the fire at Salvation Army. So there's a water line somewhere out there on that trail. I'm not sure, but I think that should be, that is number one. That should stay number one.
Yeah, well, I mean, that one could get some legs, we put some skin in it, there's some feasibility study done. Woodard and Curran, who is one of the engineer companies in the kind of cooperative package that Jerry presented, they helped, they have helped other people find money for water and sewer. And I believe you told me you had been involved in that CCUA feasibility study at some
With
point.
the airport?
Yeah, well, we've done a lot of work, primarily on the business side out at the Camp Landing, Keystone Heights. And I'm very familiar with the jurisdictional things out there, split between, I guess, Bradford and Clay County and City of Keystone. So yeah, the feasibility study that was done by Bill, right, in AECom. You know, the whole genesis of that, and we were instrumental in helping them get the funding to do the feasibility study. But at the end of the day, you know, it was to look at how the airport can be used to recruit business and industry out there. What are the assets? And so water and sewer capacity, frankly, broadband and some others were very, quote, deficient. And so being able to have that documented, to be able to bring that to the legislature, say we need, as the council member was saying, we need to, you know, have some investment out there to have that water line extended, capacity bigger, whatever the case may be, but yeah. So how does it go up? Does that line go just to the airport, or is it?
It goes to the RV park now, but it's to the airport.
Okay.
because, That's the economic booster.
Sure is.
There's businesses that will go where there's water and sewer, and they won't go if they've got to dig a well and put in a septic tank.
Yes, sir.
So the reason I put the comments in blue, I'm trying to develop some talking points so that when the mayor speaks about it, I speak about it, somebody from the airport speaking about it, we're all saying the same thing. And I'll flesh out some talking points for 2 and 3 after tomorrow. Clay County Commissioners use Southern Group as their lobbyist, and he is presenting to them tomorrow afternoon. I'm just gonna go listen to what he has to say and kind of make sure we're all together.
So my one problem with this project is it is almost entirely beneficial to Bradford County. It is benefiting no citizens in the city of Keystone Heights. It is benefiting the 1/3 of the airport that is located inside of Clay County. But nobody lives there, and we can't build any more businesses there. All of the building is on Bradford County property. And so, although I like this project, and I think it's great for the area, and it'll bring jobs, and we should connect up the airport, this is a Bradford County project that Bradford County is gonna benefit from. No one in Keystone Heights is gonna benefit from this. Or almost nobody. So,
Clay County side is built out.
yeah, if you look at the plan, it's all gonna be built on the Bradford side.
Where they're talking about
We-
the shopping point, things, stuff like that.
Yes.
That's a very good point.
All of that is in Bradford County.
So, I'm not sure, are you looking at the airport master plan?
Yeah, I'm looking at where they built the road and where all the
Right.
buildings are supposed
Yeah.
to go. It's all in Bradford County.
Well, there's still open space on the Clay side, and I say that with some knowledge. We've been in discussions with the Florida State Guard, the one that answers directly to the governor, and they think an area on the Clay County side where they want to
We receive no tax money from that though.
No, well, that's true.
This could be Clay County.
No,
But
because
it's on the Clay County
It's our-
side. Right. So, anyway, if you guys have other projects you want to go some other way, all I'm trying to emphasize to you is if you're asking for money this session, it needs to be infrastructure related. And that's the one that has kind of stood up. I don't think we'll get there that year, there's $15–20 million, depending on how much of it we do. We do have some plans to do some roads and sidewalks here within the city limits. And those will be 6-figure projects, $200,000–$400,000. could come away with those amounts. But if we ever want to hook up the airport, we need to start talking about it now. Part of our legislative delegation from Clay County, which is not the Keystone guy, but the North Clay County representative here, and will be next Speaker of the House in 2 years. So if you think Speaker of the House, President, Senate, Governor, those are the three.
And no, you're absolutely right.
So
You know, lay the groundwork right now.
Yeah, so you guys tell me, really tell her what you'll gain consensus about when she's speaking on your behalf a couple hours prior to your next official meeting. So that, and all that came up last week. I thought we were gonna have some more time on that session, it starts in March.
Yeah.
Yeah, so what I just showed you.
So this is a really nice document, Stan, you put together.
So, based upon our last meeting, I looked at what kind of projects are we working on, existing and, plan, and I came up with 3 pages of stuff, and I threw in some pictures, I was hoping I would have more time to work on it. Apparently, we don't.
It's actually just really nice, though. I mean, from what I got to read so far.
So it's some ideas, and if, I'll just go back to lay the groundwork, put the seeds there in our legislative hands, maybe in 2 or 5 years it bears fruit. I'm not expecting, I wouldn't expect any of it to be started, but the stuff that's already started and the stuff like that, I'm just so upset about the Lake Geneva project. And the fact that Tallahassee won't approve us to go and log those trees. And I see right out my window every single day, dead trees in Lake Geneva. And safety hazards for boaters. And it's gonna be acres and acres of that if we don't get out there right now. And those trees,
All those trees are coming down.
they're
Well,
supposed to be.
it's been talked about for
Tallahassee won't do
a
it.
long time. But I mean, I don't know.
There's some things going on with the Lake Geneva Restoration Project. As you know, Colonel Booth is retired from the Army Corps of Engineers.
Thank
He
you
and
for
I
that stuff.
have been in a lot of discussions with SOLO, City Under Water Management, and I've got some other things to bring to you. And we're about to run out of time, to your point. But SOLO is going to engage, I'll let Jamie recap this. He knows all the players. The part that the city can do to be supportive of the Lake Geneva Restoration Project will probably be to assist SOLO with some amount of money. Their boards voted last week to put an extra $10,000 into getting the right people, kind of expedite this process. So Jamie, if you want to
Sure.
jump in there.
So just quick summary, if you look at the number of property owners around the lake, around 450 property owners. City of Keystone Heights property owners is a little less than 100. The rest of Clay County would be another 300, and there's about 50 or so Bradford County landowners. What's been going on, the big issue out on the lake is that technically up to the property line and beyond the property line of the landowners is state submerged sovereign lands, or I might have that flipped, and it might be state sovereign submerged lands. And to get authority to go in and do any work in that area, you need approval from Florida Department of Environmental Protection's subordinate element, which is the sovereign submerged land section. And there's been some discussions going on over the last year on that issue. Right now, Clay County was initially working on a request to do work along the 2 major boat ramp areas. SOLO has gone to them and had a discussion, and we've been involved with some of the meetings about potentially making it a broader effort. I'm sorry, let me step back. So the county was going forward to look at those 2 boat ramp areas, and then it had been indicated that each individual landowner would then need to go forward to Florida Department of Environmental Protection and request authority or get approval for folks to go into the riparian areas down from their property to do any work on those trees, to get them removed. And so what's been going on over about the last 2 weeks is a discussion to potentially merge those two efforts. I think Clay County is supportive of that. There's some discussions that need to go on with St. Johns River Water Management District in that process. But ultimately, potentially moving forward is one effort to work with Florida Department of Environmental Protection to get approval to go in there and do restoration work. And so I think a lot of people envision just going in and clear cutting in that area. I think the more accurately it needs to be described as environmental restoration. So it needs to be looked at into, potentially leaving some of that in certain areas because submerged land section may see some environmental benefit to some of those areas. But we also have to look at what would the historical lake actually would have looked like. And that's one of the big driving factors in trying to get the approval to go in there and do that work. So there would need to be a plan developed that shows how we would do that. And then a lot of engagement and discussion at multiple levels of government to encourage discussion on getting that to move forward, but also acknowledging that we could be within 9 months or so of the only about 1.5 feet of water change that we need on Lake Brooklyn before that water is going to start flowing under Hebron Avenue, and it's all downhill from there as far as the water is concerned. So Solo is working with an entity to start pulling all that together. They'd approved some funding from their side of the house, and potentially, if the city's willing to participate in that, that can facilitate some of that movement. There's still some discussions that need to have amongst Clay County, St. Johns River Water Management District to lock it all down. But we've been trying to facilitate some discussion and get all the right people together to continue to move forward. So nothing's locked in stone, but we think we got the right momentum and the right folks talking.
Yeah.
Well, we have the line item that we put 10,000 a year in here of $50,000. So that's been there for quite some time. So we've got money that
Put it on the agenda for the January meeting so we can support them.
give it.
Almost
we need to try to-
Isn't that the item that you already had me add, City Manager? The one when we said we would come back with some items for the.
I have to look at my January folder. Oh, my strategic plan for my legislative.
It may already be on your January agenda, but I do have it by consensus that we will add it.
So essentially, I think what was thought initially was they were waiting to get clearance from DEP to come and clear the area. They had a company that was going to come do this. And from what it sounds like now, they decided that they're going to personalize each lot based on situation to whether or not what gets cleared, what doesn't get cleared. They're going to have influence on that decision. It's not quite as cut and dry as we thought it was going to be. Is that right?
We were told,
Well, there
that's
was-
what we were told,
Yeah.
or led to believe.
Yeah. Are we done with what's on the agenda for the workshop?
We are, I think, right? You all agree with that?
Yes, with the workshop, yes. But with this new information about, for example, you're having to brief our lobbyists before we can meet again, these are things we need to talk about. And I'm very sad. I want to take a bureaucrat by the ear, and I want to drag him down to my lake, and I want to show him what he's doing. Because they're putting paperwork in front of what's actually happening. It's
This should have been decided a long time
like,
ago,
oh, absolutely.
long
And-
before the pipeline.
And Solo has been
Or at the
working
same
on
time,
it
yes.
for a year at least.
Yes.
This is not brand new.
No, it's not.
And so we are now getting into a safety hazard situation for boaters out there. And as the lake gets higher and higher, more trees will die, and they can't be logged, and then they become a hazard, a safety hazard. And, I don't know, can people sue DEP for inaction? We know this is coming. There is no question.
Yeah, I know. I agree.
It just blows my mind how bureaucrats in Tallahassee don't understand. And they're putting process in front of the actual safety of our citizens in this area. I don't understand. So list here, I mean, I'll put the Geneva project number one. That's what I would do. The lakes are the number one priority
And
here in our
especially
town.
since the pipeline's getting ready.
And yeah, and time is critical.
Yes, it is.
Well, let's go back a step, make sure I understand what you're saying. This is what we're asking the legislature to do. We're not asking them to draft a law, that I'm aware of on the Geneva restoration.
No.
We're not asking them for money.
No.
So that is our priority, our number one quickest thing. If you go into my whiteboard, water levels have been at the top since I got here. But there's nothing, this is just simply for us to be in good terms with our legislative delegation, to be present and to participate. And we can massage it in the January 6th meeting. I might come back to you before we go, based on what I hear from the lobbyists speaking to the county commission tomorrow. I asked before and I was told, hey, we got some time on that, we'll deal with that in 2025, and then last week I had an email, another legislative delegation meeting at 2 p.m. on January 6th. So we're adjusting this whole process, adjust all the way until they drop the hanky at the
I understand, I understand.
So,
But I would still say, it doesn't matter about the funding. Now, we're not asking legislators for funding. But one of the duties they have is to advocate on our behalf. And so to ask them to go to DEP and to say, hey, this is really important. This is the number one priority for that community. We really need your help and we need it in a timely manner. Please expedite whatever bureaucratic processes you have.
I wonder if Vivian's gonna be at that meeting in January. I bet she will.
Oh,
Yeah, she was, I think she was there last year, or this year when I went.
and I would agree with Dan, but, and it's just like with Senator Rob Bradley, with the project we got, we did go up, we lobbied, he had it all planned out, who we needed to talk to and everything about that pipeline. And I would say do the same thing as with, we've got a bus, we got people, we went up there and we went door to door to some of these people, state reps and.
Count me in if you want to do
And
that.
stuff, and we knocked on the door, and Rob got us in the places that we needed to be in. So, I think we, the Speaker of the House and the, President of the Senate came and talked to us, and, as a group. So, it is important, because, I remember years and years ago, I had a cousin water skiing barefooted and hit a log in the lake, and took the bottom of the ski off. So, but I would say, even though it might not be sitting right here on number one, we still have them to talk to. If we went, we've always been, in good standards with our legislators, no matter who they were. So they always, they know they're gonna have to come around sooner or later for a vote.
Yeah.
And so we got their ear.
Well, and I believe that they genuinely want to help us.
They do.
Well, I mean, when you think
We're
about.
lucky, I'm sorry, but we are
I
lucky. We have good legislators.
Yes, we do.
I mean, you think about the work and effort, just like Tony said, 10-year project or whatever it's been. And, they certainly, certainly Senator Bradley, he fought long and hard with all the other people he was involved with. And to have a situation with DEP coming in here to put a little bit of a gate across our efforts, when you're talking about $100 million, they need to know this is a challenge we're having right now. We need you to help us to get these guys focused on really what the big picture is here. And to hear, we need to understand from DEP, why is this now a big deal? Well, this first time we really heard about this. Because, it's a committee, it's a whole separate
Mhm.
group. And maybe our folks up above don't really know that this has happened. Unless Ms. James has let them know about
Well,
this, I don't know.
Ms. Vivian Katz,
And Ms. Catch, yeah.
she has tried to notify our state senator and our state legislature, representative, and we just need to keep on it. I think.
Yeah, because they have a big investment right on it. It's a
So I know from attending the meetings and talking to her that she has engaged with those people. But so far, they haven't gotten any progress. But I don't want them to give up either. I want them to keep putting the pressure on DEP and get them moving and whatever this bureaucracy is that's stalling us, move it along.
I don't think that it's in her makeup to give up.
I agree, but she's also really nice. She's of the opinion, it's easier to attract bees with honey than it is with vinegar. And she's been very successful, but it's also been a very slow process. We don't have time.
No, we
The
don't.
water is coming up.
The lakes are our biggest draw in this community.
Oh,
They have always.
That's why this
been our biggest
community
draw.
was
That's
put here.
everything that we're about.
That's right, and if we're going, if we're gonna have water sports on the lakes, we
Yes.
can't have the safety hazards we have out there
As
now.
soon as,
And it should have happened a month ago.
oh yeah, it should have happened 6 months ago.
Yeah, we were initially told it was gonna take 2 weeks to clear.
Yes.
2 weeks.
When did they
Clear
find out
the whole
about
lake.
this recent event?
DEP,
Yeah, because they didn't announce that at the big event we had.
she's really too nice.
Well, she kept,
They
if you
said they were
remember what
waiting
she
to hear
said at
from
the
them.
event, she separated the Geneva Restoration Project and talked very particularly using the word restoration, which is codified in statute as a way to go about that, separate from the Lake Brooklyn project.
She's smart.
And back in March or April, one of the times she came and spoke here, she let us know that they were waiting to amend the original agreement on the water flow was to restore Lake Brooklyn. So they did not want to get into the Geneva restoration and risk getting a kibosh put on the funding. So she intentionally waited till most of this pipe was in the ground and it was too late to go back and take the appropriation away or modify it before they
But that's been done.
amended the language. So then it flows through the rest of town. That happened in 2024. I can't tell you the exact date.
Yes, but that's
So,
been done.
yes, if we all knew what we knew to have included that in the original bill that passed, that Senator Rob Bradley got passed, then we wouldn't be here. But they had some logical, political reasons to do it the way they did, and they got some logical, political strategery, if you excuse the term, to get this fixed, and the group that Solo is engaging with to get it fixed is the right group of people, and, losing my train of thought a little bit here, sorry.
So to me, these are all excuses as to why they're not doing anything. And I'm like, forget the excuses, do the right thing and do it as soon as possible. And we need to tell that story and we need our legislative
Well, it won't be any good.
representatives.
It won't be passable for, we can't, it's gonna be a huge liability to get people out there if they want to ski.
And as soon as the Fifth Street boat ramp has access,
Yes.
as soon as that has access to the rest of the lake, there are gonna be people all over that.
Yeah.
Well, the other one right down here, did you have to go down like that?
Yeah.
They used to use that a lot too.
They still are. I see people down there all the time.
Well, but there's so much more parking and it's an asphalt ramp.
Yeah.
And it's gonna be crammed. I mean, okay, I've said enough.
So, this clearly wasn't something she expected to happen, it doesn't sound like. I think the story we have to paint is say, so, Mr. Sapp, imagine you have your kid out skiing and he hits a tree log that we've waited for the DEP to decide how we're gonna take away all of this around our banks for the uses of this water property, and gets his feet cut off, or better, dies, because we have all this trash waste of tree. They had a plan to have a company come in and take it all away, and now they're getting the latest on that they're not gonna do that, they're gonna look at every lot individually and retain it back to historic, whatever that is.
That'd take
I mean,
100 years for all.
that could
to
take-
be honest.
Yes,
It would.
I think we have to paint it like it's make it
It's
personal.
emergent.
We have to make it personal. And this is not just about rules and regulations and what their little, their lane is. It has to be personal, so that they can understand what could happen. After you spend $100 million
asking for money.
No,
We-
we're just asking for support.
Yeah, we
And
just
influence.
need, we need to,
We
and
need
I
to
like what you
understand.
said, we need to restore the lake to the way it was before it went way down. And if we don't do that, we're endangering people's lives. I don't want a penny. We just need this to go.
I didn't know about that. I mean, that's first I heard about the whole thing with the Lake Geneva project having a little bit of a halt now. I thought they were just
She's
waiting
been
for the
talking
DEP
about
to
it
get
for a
the
while.
approval.
Because there was months ago that she brought it up to us, and I was in shock when she said, it's only gonna take 2 weeks and they'll be out of here. in 2
That's,
weeks."
yeah,
And I-
and that's the last I knew was the 2 weeks, but they were just waiting for the nod from.
I thought, yeah.
That's all I heard, but I didn't know this, like what you just stated.
I thought it was
That's news.
all said and done, and now I hear about hiccups, and I have been hearing about hiccups, but I didn't understand the reason why.
It totally doesn't surprise me.
Okay. So is that number one, and the rest of them get enumerated 2, 3, and 4, or do y'all not like any of the other 3 I have listed?
So what is
So
your?
do I have a total of 4 on here, or you want to strike off CCUA at the airport?
I would take and change what you have as number 1, and I would include, so I'd expand it, I would include this, the septic tank to sewer conversions, which truly do benefit the citizens of the city. And, going back in history, you may already know the same process if you did, but we originally put in CCUA sewer and water downtown because we had to get rid of the septic tanks for all the businesses around Lawrence here. We just had to. There was no, we couldn't keep going on, we couldn't park, we couldn't, all kinds of problems. Well, we did not extend that to the rest of the citizens. We extended it to some citizens. For example, I have city water. I do not have city sewer. And so, this, as I said earlier, is mainly a benefit to Bradford County. Let's make it a benefit to our city too. And so let's expand it by saying septic to sewer conversion is part of this too. That's my recommendation.
To the city, just its residents.
Right, to these are the city residents, yes.
That would be a huge,
Big time.
big time.
That'd be
Nice thing to
awesome.
have.
Well, I mean, it's like
have
where your
septics on the
brother-in-law is.
Yeah, oh,
He had to go with the sewer because there's a sewer line right there.
yeah, he was like within 1,000 feet of the sewer line, so they forced him to do that, they forced him to spend $18,000. But then, guess what, when power went out, because of how it was all designed and everything, he had no power to pump the sewage up to the sewer line, so he couldn't use his own toilet. And the electrical power went out.
They lost that big tree back there in that alley.
Yeah, it was out for a while, it's a big tree.
Yeah. Well,
So-
I mean, I know that with my place on Orange, I had to put a drain field. First question out of CCUA, how close are you to a hookup? I said, man, no way. But I mean, but I see what you're saying, but then that, I pay, I think $65 a month for sewer at my office,
Uh-huh.
it's in town,
Yeah,
on top of my water bill.
yeah.
Oh, it's
Oh, yeah, you gonna pay?
So you may all know that my mother-in-law was a municipality sales rep for Waste Management. And she drove all over Florida and worked with cities and got garbage contracts and all that kind of stuff. And she's been working with cities, God, 4 decades. Her recommendation to me was get CCUA underneath the city. Make it a city utility, just like JEA is under Jacksonville and that kind of thing. Now, I'm not saying we should do that, but there's a lot of good reasons to do that. And it would definitely benefit our citizens if we could do that. But that's a whole different topic. I'm just kind of planting the seed right now, that's all I'm doing.
I have the Clay County government. That one, but.
Well, it's not even under them, the county commissioners, appoint, like you appoint planning and zoning and airport and everything, the board members, but that's a private.
Private
Yeah.
But it's a nonprofit. It's not a for-profit.
So Charlie, you're asking about our priorities. So I agree that the Geneva project is a huge priority, but it's no funding attached. It's essentially their influence in helping us to further support the $100 million they've already spent, like, to get this to fruition, right? We need some help here. We've had a hiccup here and.
I mean, when I was one of 5 school board members, I constantly hounded my legislative delegation on what was important. So you guys are elected officials, they're elected officials, call them, email them, write them a letter, go walk into the front door, talk to their aide, that is wide open to all of you guys individually.
Yeah, it'd be quite good for us to meet with Geneva, with Vivian face to face and just let her give us the latest, rawest, most info. So we're, you know, we have more armed with information. You know.
Yeah, and it's especially important for you as you go to these things.
Yeah.
But I want to throw my support behind Tony's idea of getting a bus or a van and going up to Tallahassee. I'm signing up. I want to go.
Well,
But-
Play Day's coming,
Play day is not till April,
April
but
this time.
what I'm saying, these guys are all in their offices until the 2nd or 3rd week of January, in the district offices in Orange Park.
Let's go
You
ahead.
can- I mean, we don't need to wait, Vivian's can't wait. So the first committee week in January is the week of the 21st through the 24th, the 20th being Monday being Martin Luther King Day. But the 21st is a Tuesday, so I've set aside, one, you know, Tuesday morning to Thursday afternoon, one in January, one in February, one in March, one in April, that I can always add to that, just for me to be up there, because things churn and change, and, you know.
No, that's a good idea. I'm glad you're planning that.
So number 2 then would be, what you had as number 1, except that we ask that they extend it to the residents of the city of Keystone Heights. That's a big ask.
Yes, and,
You said it's already
and the
15,
thing,
20 million.
that will be, what exactly we're asking for, we have to refine after I bring you a contract January 6th for our new city engineer. We know a lot more about what it takes to get water and sewer to the airport. I don't know that I don't know
Cost to come
what
here.
it costs and who's hooked up, who's not. So that was, I hate to use a shovel-ready project, the one that I put on there, we know enough to get started.
There's already
find
some
things.
studies known, so they know what the amount is. We
But
just- it's
this,
unknown for the city.
it can be our top priority for our new city engineer after we get him doing all the things you've already agreed to do.
Well, and I would caveat it this way too, the part that I had is also got environmental benefits. Whereas the whole Keystone Airport thing, that's, I almost want to say purely business benefits.
And limited.
Limited, yes.
Limited.
Yes. There's going to be limited people who benefit from it. But perhaps the most people would be benefited would be the RV park, but they already have their own water treatment facility there.
So they're hooked up on water and sewer. Maybe.
They board underneath the road.
The city owns the airport. I get that a lot of it's in Bradford County, but it's your airport.
And there are benefits being that the 2/3 of it's in Bradford County because they are one of the rural communities.
Mhm.
And they have that whole READY program, and so they get special consideration that we don't get. But that would be another reason why you'd want to own CCUA, so that the services that we provide, we actually benefit from, not just Bradford County.
Well,
Let me jump in for just a second. The water company was for sale many years ago, and the city council said no way, because of all the regulations and all that kind of stuff. And then there's companies that came in and the Keystone Heights Water Company was sold, I think, 2 or 3 times before Clay Utilities took it over. And then Clay Utilities brought in the sewer. The sewer downtown was done by a grant that the city got because of the businesses and everything. And that helped them out with pumping the septic tanks, crushing the septic tanks and hooking it up. They didn't have to pay all that money, but it was a grant. So if we were to do, and the legislators, they've tried for years and years to go to sewer instead of septic tanks. My mind can't wrap around that in rural areas. I just can't figure that one out. But in a city like we have, we would have to go with a grant, try to get a grant like we did with the businesses in order to help out, one, the residents for the hookup, and two, to put the pipe and all that stuff in. But the thing is, when we did it, then the city signed it over to Clay Utilities to manage it, because we didn't have the facilities to manage that. So sooner or later, I don't know when, but we'll be mandated to do sewer.
Probably in the next 10 years or less.
Yeah.
I
But
think
they've been
it's
there for-
enforceable currently.
Something a lot of cities are talking about.
Well, where my mother's house is right behind the businesses, and I know good and well when that drain field goes out or that septic tank, we got to hook up. And so, but,
So would it be better then to wait until you get an engineer on board who could identify the cost if we were to extend it to Keystone residents and then present this next year?
I would say, I think the city manager's got a good idea here, but let's keep it vague. Let's not go into details and call it something more generic, like, city water and sewer projects. And just make it that. And then list airport, city residences, city businesses, and leave it vague like that. And that way we plant the seed, we ask for it, and so when we come back in 2026, we say, well, again, this is one of our top priorities, and again, this is what we think we need to do, and again, it's gonna support the environment, and it's gonna support businesses, and it's gonna, if we keep hammering it, then maybe one day we'll get that grant.
So how many households do we have inside the city? I don't actually know that number.
450?
450.
Yeah, around 450.
Yeah, so I thought the number I heard for the transition was around 25,000 per household.
Oh, yeah.
25 to 30,000 for the septic to transition.
Yeah, 'cause I'm one of the sufferers.
So
one of
I'm
the
just trying to come up with a so-called number, and that's like $11 million on top of the 15 that you have or 20,
No,
15 and 20 million, so make it 31 million,
There's
32
a lot of
million.
us.
If we incorporate what Ann just said,
Yeah.
making it kind of like a,
So
increase the number.
that could be mentioned without several other steps and putting a number on it, you're not going to do a concession.
I'm not expecting it,
Right.
like you said, the hurricanes, they're gonna take all the money. But put the marker on the table. Start our legislators thinking about it. Don't expect it.
The whole septic to sewer thing is coming for all cities in Florida at some point. That's the noise I'm hearing at state level. And they're
And if-
tossing around, and they do have a timeline kind of focused.
And if we're one of the first communities that says, we kind of have a dollar figure, we kind of know what we want to do, guess what, we'll probably be one of the first communities that actually gets money to do it.
I know Penny Farms successfully did it last year.
There you go, they were ready, they got the money. Probably wasn't a whole lot of money because they're so small.
They did it for both the retirement and the regular community. So I don't know, and the only reason I know is at the FLC dinner, the mayor had spoke about the grants that he got, and he kind of educated us about it a little bit.
The ICE, one of the 3 companies we're looking at for the continuing engineering laws facilitated the Penny Farms grant process to do that.
I think, yeah, they were working with Miss Fleet, I believe, as well.
And I know we all wanted to move faster, we really are putting together the right team to get it all done to the best of public storage.
They did a wonderful.
Well, a lot of things, the people within ICE have the right pieces and the right experience to deal with the city of Keystone Heights. Florida is too, the government's worked with a lot of small towns, don't have to work with us, been looking around, and I think that's, I think we've got the right people in front of me. And I say that just to hopefully encourage you. This is, the towns of Keystone Heights siders aren't even thinking and saying that things are living. And so, I'll massage this after I
Good for
listen
us.
to Clay County, and their lobbyists tomorrow. And so I'll have 4 things on this. We'll make what is currently the number 1, number 2, and open up the, make it a little more vague. And then we'll leave what is 2 and 3, they'll look on 3 and 4. If, you know, if y'all are in agreement with that.
I would like to insert between 2 and 3, the, State Road 21, State Road 100, intersection project.
That is, I've already received multiple assurances that that will be in Clay County's top 5 priorities for DOT. It's a DOT project.
That's part of the
So-
project.
So I don't know that our legislative delegation has a piece of supporting us in that. It's always worth mentioning, hey, we're looking forward, and I write it in here as a talking point. But to the extent that we can move that project along, we have. And so in March, the Clay County will submit a list of the top 5 priorities to FDOT. They've assured me, our county commissioner, our county manager, that that'll be in the top 5. They're tracking with TPO and FDOT District 2. I talked to those guys, so that's, I'm trying to leave this as to what we're actually wanting to engage Representative Sapp, Senator Bradley, and Representative Garrison doing. I don't think, the more we throw at them, the less likely of any of it to get done. If y'all are the council, so if you want it on your list, we can put it on your list. I'm not sure what that ask is of the legislature.
Well, then I would caveat this list to say that this is, items that the city desires legislative action on. Because this is then not reflective of our priorities, actually. It's omitting important priorities.
Okay, so maybe I'm not understanding. So this list in my mind is what we're asking our legislative delegation to help us accomplish. They don't have to change any laws or provide any funding for us to do what we're trying to do at the intersection. So I don't know, I'm asking it of them.
But I don't want someone to say, well, a year ago, here's your priorities list, and the intersection's nowhere on it. Why is it suddenly a priority?
But it is a priority for FDOT, if I'm not
That is
mistaken.
correct.
Because when we did the streetscapes, it was on there, and we're not finished with the streetscapes. And so it's still on their radar.
And they came to us and asked us to buy the corner, so they could,
Right.
they did a traffic study.
We're doing all the right stuff.
Yeah, they did a traffic study, which dictated to them that they needed to change the way the traffic was,
Okay.
they needed to widen the lane.
I'll
And then they
back
said,
off.
if you buy the corner, we will do X, and now we're in the plan.
I just like
That-
a
Which is why we went ahead and
consistent-
bought it.
I just like a consistent
Yeah,
message,
sure.
always the same message, in
Fundamental
every
line.
document you look. You know, that's what I like.
By the way, so it's kind of not really at the, like the legislature level. This is a county thing with the improvement of traffic flow. They're gonna do the curbing, they're gonna
They
do
give
some,
that
they did a
DOT so
lateral.
much money every year.
They
They
did a
already
lateral study.
have their Florida statutes that they follow.
It involves a lot of stuff.
Yeah, so it never hurts to
That's
have
why
your
we don't
legislative
touch the
delegation
corner.
aware of what you want.
I agree.
I got taught by a master this years ago, never have more than 3 priorities and have them keyed up where they can hit the ball.
Yeah, then we can.
And, you know, what
We don't
I've
wanna sound
given,
whiny.
what I've given you in those top 3 that I provided you tonight are things that by the time the legislative session starts, they'll be ready to go. So that's where I'm coming from, but again, you can reprioritize this or give the mayor your consensus on others.
So just a slightly different track on that, my training was give them everything. Because sometimes it may be, they see it, and then the opportunity presents itself, and they can actually do something. And so if they're not exposed to everything, they can't do that. The second was they might have in the budget $500,000 to do something, or they might have $50,000 to do something. Well, if your top 3 projects are all $2 million projects, you're gonna get nothing. But if you give them everything, then they can pick and choose, well, the small one, we can afford that, okay, let's give them that one. You might get number 20 on your list, because they can afford that. But you won't get 1 through 19 because they can't afford that. But if you don't give them the list of 20, you don't have any chance of getting number 20. And so, just a different perspective, I like to give them all kinds of data, and then let them do what they can.
Well, I know in the past, issues, it's usually 3 or 4 that we've done. Most of the time it was 3 that we presented to them. And the street paving and the stormwater is one of the things we brought up a year or so ago that's important. With the water, we got runoff. We really don't have any system in place to purify that water before it goes back unless it goes through a ditch. And the other thing is, I like the sidewalk thing because I took a different path on my walk yesterday and down in your area. And it's only because we planted trees in the 90s and the roots are coming up, and the sidewalks are coming up. And back in, I don't know if it was I don't remember. Mary Lou was the mayor, and she got a grant for safe walks to school. That's why all that over by the football field and areas like that got sidewalks. Is that something that we could look at if they still have that program to refurbish our sidewalks?
FDOT has a newer version, it's named Safe Streets and Roads.
Oh, okay.
There is a federal program that's the newer version of the previous one the city used.
That really worked out pretty good back when we put all the sidewalks in. You just keep people to walk on instead of in the street and be all right.
And I mean, it's a very walkable city.
Yes.
And I think as long as they're nice and they're flat, as best we can have them, I think it's a benefit to citizens.
And council agreed in the beginning part of this year to expand sidewalks from the 3 foot to the 5 feet, so they're gonna be a lot wider, and we're not able to replace them, so it'll be easier to walk in
Yeah.
opposing directions as well.
So you're saying then we just try to maybe look at a grant that we could get to support that particular
I
cause?
think you could.
We could look into it and see. There's grants out there for some.
I mean, I would go ahead, honestly, I would keep it on there.
And then
But in
we
the
just need time to
meantime-
look at it. Yeah, I agree.
Earl over here, he can maybe work on finding us a grant or something. Because the sidewalks, there's a lot of sidewalks in this
Yeah,
town, and
yeah.
there's a lot of them that are in, bad shape.
Okay, so we have 4 items. And I will definitely meet with Ms. Vivian beforehand, and then you and I'll talk to you, just to be sure we're on the right page. If you guys want to get together and talk more about it, just let us know.
You do a great job, Mayor. Do us well in these,
We didn't ask for anything
advocates.
last year, just, thank you so much for the $100 million. Get us on water going now. Guess what, guys, we got a situation, So, and they're certainly very nice people to talk to, make it really easy to talk, and we'll see what we can do. Anything else?
On January's meeting, I have that you guys want unanimously, I cannot speak tonight, recommend to hire a strategic planning facilitator. I did not put through, because I know we're looking at Clay County being able to come address as well, and also additional solo funding for the tree removal. I don't know what we'll name that, but that's funding for that.
Now, the Clay County, whoever did Clay County is for the comp plan.
It's for the comp.
Oh, okay, I misunderstood.
No, and Mr. Henry is who you want me to pursue for the strategic plan, is that correct? As part of the student government?
We can't decide that at this meeting.
No.
Right,
that's just our recommendation.
That'll be an action item.
That would be
Action
a item on your January 6th agenda,
Yes.
and I think you satisfied the question of competitive bid is not necessary. So I'm not asking and I'm not going to write an RFP for that, I'm gonna preview a contract from Florida Institute of Government for that.
And the sooner the better.
Do we want the comprehensive plan under discussion items or action items? Are you guys gonna be ready for, okay.
I got some more next for run.
Okay, perfect.
I'll ask the city manager to look into that.
Yeah.
And
Figure out
bring
where
us
you
some
wanna plug it
information
into.
at the beginning though,
Okay.
okay?
No, it'll be at least a discussion, I don't know,
Yeah.
I'll have a contract with somebody for you to act on, and you'll ask me lots of questions on which one's which, and so
Didn't
there'll
mean to
probably
put
be
you on the spot
some,
there.
some decisions to make before we try to contract with somebody.
So for this facilitation of our strategic slogan and motto, at January 7th, a good day?
January 7th, let's see.
The day after the meeting.
I'm in town, we got an airport meeting that night.
Yeah, we got airport
Make a
meeting
day
that
of it.
Because
I'm
you're
just-
talking like a full day.
I know,
I would think we want to do
I'm,
something where we don't have to go to the
in a
airport.
roundabout way, what I'm saying is let's move
Let's set a
along,
date.
let's do this.
No, I agree with you, Dan, completely,
Let's-
absolutely.
I'm ready to go.
Okay, let's see.
How early do you want to start? 9, 10?
9,
Okay.
on January what?
7th.
Okay, so that's 9 to 5, right?
That means we can't stay here till 11 o'clock on the Sunday.
Yeah, because we have the airport thing at 6, right?
And that we can skip, or I can send somebody from here to there.
I don't think we'll go to 5.
Yeah.
Okay, so January 7th it is?
Starting at 9 until, we say we're.
Is it with you, Mr. Henry?
I'll check
Hey,
with our
check your
staff.
calendar.
Yeah.
We need to ask you for
I'll
your
need to take
calendar
it.
for sure.
It's okay, I'll go back and check on it.
We facilitate dates all the time, that's one thing
So-
we've gotten pretty good at.
What we want to do with this, y'all, is, and I hope Dan was going to be here tonight from the monitor, he was supposed to be here, is make sure it's well advertised for the public to be, to have input. And I think it's not a bad idea. I mean, what's your thoughts on that?
I mean, my own personal thoughts on it is, I think it's fine to have the public here initially as observers. I mean, but to try to create an environment where you're gonna have, let's just say even if it's 10 people, 15 people constantly commenting and taking away from what y'all are doing, it's gonna be
We've done that before.
yeah. Yeah, so, I mean, you can, I mean, what, the idea is to come out of here with something that's a draft thing,
Okay.
that you all end up at some point adopting formally as a board. But you could also take that draft document and have, subsequent weeks, if you will, and create either it's a town hall or whatever, there's any variety of ways to do it, and give them an opportunity to comment on it, and if you guys wanna come back and say, well, we heard a lot of, stuff, that we might want, but you may not, so,
I honestly think our community would be pretty excited about stuff we're talking about. I mean, when I look at all the buckets and all the information that we were talking about the last meeting, I think most people would be thrilled to know that we're focusing on these things.
Just either how.
It's hard to get,
No, but I know.
It's
it's hard to
always
get them
It's
in here, but I agree with you, I think that if you get a lot of spectators involved in
You don't
something
like
that
that.
we are hashing out before we even present
Yeah.
it, that's distracting. It's too distracting.
yeah, I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with advertising,
Oh, no.
you know.
Oh, we
you
advertise, we
you
advertise.
have to.
Nobody ever comes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well, that's
well,
okay,
well,
but again, and I can be the bad person, right? I can lay out the ground rules, if you will, of you're here to observe, and we're glad you're here, and blah, 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 but.
That would be awesome.
And then at
That's
some
fine.
point, I've been the bad person a lot.
There's nothing wrong with ground rules.
But, again, and then you can have a draft document, and then we can talk, to the degree you wanna talk about how you, get this and communicate with the community and get feedback. That's the next step, if you ask me.
And I would just share my observation, my conversations with citizens, is that since we hired our new city clerk and our new city manager, things have gotten much better, and the citizens are much happier. So, I credit a lot of that to the mayor.
delegating roles and expectations. It's the team as a whole, to me, that's made a difference in our city right now. And I too am hearing all kinds of comments, very positive comments. I've had people that were gonna leave the city, take their business out of the city because of the way they have been treated by this office. And they have now come back and taken notice, that's for sure. So I think it goes to all of our employees and all of us coming together to identify who that team was and to approve that increase in the payroll to do the right thing for the community. So it's certainly not just me. I'm proud of what we've done this year. It's been an amazing year.
Okay.
I apologize, were you available for the 7th?
I'm gonna go back and talk with.
Yeah, the staff is consulted before you can just do a rid of them.
No, I called you, I did not know how soon you would know.
I'll know tomorrow.
I work on the minutes during the same time. so I
Understand,
try to call you
understand.
back. Not a problem.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Any more? Yes,
I
sir.
gotta go back to work.
Okay, any more comments?
Thanks for coming.
Seven.
Meeting is adjourned.